Welcome to week 5. We just had our first unit exam, and so now we're moving on. This unit, we're going to do a few variety of kind of unrelated topics. Chapter 4 is about bivariate data, and that's what we'll be working on this week. And then the next couple of weeks after that will be about probability. First, this week though, I want to talk about a specific variable or two from our school data that we have. If you think about school achievement, think about, like, if we're trying to talk about high schools, which ones are good high schools in Illinois? One measure of that might be, if we look at the seniors, the percent of those seniors that are college ready. And so one thing we could do is we can make a box plot of that, and I'll put that up here. So that's the box plot of the percent of students that are college ready in Illinois high schools. So why don't you do this? I do this exercise in my class, so this is a video, so you might have to pause this, but try to think of a few of the top public or charter high schools that are in Illinois, and where that would be up at the very top of that scale. Now, of course, I'm not sure which ones you'll do. I've got a few up here that you won't be surprised by. If you look at Barrington and New Trier, these are some schools that people might have heard of that are up at the top. What if we add a second variable? What if we add a horizontal axis out here that is the percent of students that are low income? If we look at those 5 schools, it ends up looking like this. Now, you might be suspicious. There's a pretty clear trend here, but maybe it's just those 5. So let's look at the rest of the state. Now that is a clear trend. That trend is when we talk about in chapter 4 about 2 variables being correlated. Very clearly, the more students that are low income, the less students are college ready in that school. And that's correlation. Well, one thing we might talk about is wanting to quantify that. How correlated are those variables? We'll talk about the correlation coefficient. We use the variable R for that. We can throw that up there for these variables, for these 2 variables here. Fairly strongly correlated. I can't remember offhand what it is. We'll put it up in the video. One thing that you might wonder here is, well, can we say that school poverty, percent of students that are in poverty or low income in these schools, does that cause this decrease? And there's a good argument for that. We can't tell that from these data. This is just correlation. There's clearly a relationship. The more low-income students that are in a school, the less students are college ready in that school. And we can claim a clear correlation there. For causation, again, that's certainly plausible. Students that are in low income, that are low income, are struggling more with food. Their families might be working multiple jobs. There are all of these factors that certainly are plausibly related to that. Can't afford ACT classes, can't afford to take the ACT more than once. So all that is certainly plausible. And I would definitely make an argument about that. But again, these data, all we can say is that there's a strong correlation. So what we're going to talk about this week is, how do we measure that correlation? Can I get a line that best fits these data? How do I get that? That's called the least squares regression line. You'll learn about that. And then we'll also try to determine if a linear model is appropriate. Like for these data, it kind of looks like there's a little curve in there, so maybe a linear model isn't the most appropriate, so we'll have a way to test that. And then finally, in the last section, what if we have 2 qualitative variables? We're just describing people in 2 different ways, or we're describing a plant in 2 different ways. Is there any relationship between those? And that's 4.4. I'll leave the basic idea behind that for those other videos. So, hope this gives you an idea for what we're going to be working on this week. As always, don't be afraid to come and contact me, email me, stop by my office, give me a call. I'm happy to help and give you some ideas for what we're working on.